Hi everybody, Cheryl and Lady coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home, and I'm very excited because today I'm going to start my first seeds of 2022. So I hope you stick around and join me. I'm going to start with a little show and tell of different kinds of containers that I've used in the past to start my seeds. They range in different sizes. When I first started out, I had absolutely no budget for this new hobby of mine. So I went with what I had around the house. And I still do quite often. Here's an old takeout container with the lid. It makes a good humidity dome for them. These are good for starting things that have like shallower roots, like maybe lettuces that you're going to be growing a bunch of. And you can start them off as seedlings and then transport them out into Layla. And this is Layla, by the way. Say hi, Layla. Say hi. Say hi. Anyway, and then pot them into something like maybe a little bit bigger once they've sprouted. And this too. And this is what I was talking about. The cover can be used as like a humidity dome when you first start the seeds. Of course, you take it off then once they sprout. And then there's these little cells. I like these because it doubled as a humidity dome. And these are rather small. I did end up having to transplant up. And these little individual pots I like. I've collected them over the years when I bought plants at nurseries and that kind of thing. But I like these because, first of all, they're very long, so it's good for starting plants that are going to have long roots. If you're planting only a few of one thing, like maybe a rosemary plant or an oregano plant. But these are handy when you're doing, 6 of one type of variety or 6 of one type of plant. And you know you're going to be planting them all together, like peas, for example. Again, then just going up in different sizes. And today I'm going to be starting my, Layla, you're on my seeds. Today I'm going to be starting my leeks and my onions. These are cool weather plants. They are the ones that you start first because they take a long time to establish. And the varieties that I picked are from my leeks. I grew these last year. They're very slow growing, but I do enjoy the flavor. This is a Dawn Giant leek from Burpee. And this is New York Early Onion, and it's from Hudson Valley Seed Company. And these are long day onions, which is important for my certain growings. Anyway, I'm in the north, and I get very, very long days during the summer. So I can grow long day onions, whereas if I lived in the south, I would have to grow short day onions. And then if I lived in the middle of the country, I would have to grow intermediate onions. But anyway, these are storage onions. Sometimes they're not labeled as such. It takes a little bit of research to figure out the varieties that are right for you. But I encourage you to, if you're growing onions, to make sure you're getting the onions that are appropriate to your place where you live. So according to the Farmer's Almanac Garden Planner that I showed you guys in a video a couple of weeks ago, and I will link it if you want to take a look at it. It's how I plan my garden very, very easily without having to do too much calculations with my calendar and counting back days to the last frost date and that kind of thing. And it's pretty accurate because I did check with my packets. All right, stop with the tail. Thank you. In general, onions are supposed to be started 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost date. And my last frost date is April 30th. Today is February 11th. So technically tomorrow is the 11 weeks prior to my last frost date. So this is good timing. So I'm going to clear this off. And I'm going to get started sowing. Okay, go sit down for mommy. Go sit down. Here, go on, go sit down. Thank you. Okay, so this is the potting mix that I made. I made a video about this, about me experimenting this year with making my own potting soil that I hope in the long run is going to save me some money, and also be a little bit better quality than what I picked up last year. And I decided for the onions and the leeks, I'm going to start them in here. Because they are such slow growers, I think this will give me a chance to not have to pot them up and worry about them. And I'm also going to sow them very thickly, because you can do that with onions, because when you go to transplant them outside, you can just pull them apart gently and they do fall easily apart. They don't get too tangled up. So I'm going to use this size container. Now this is still moistened. When I made this yesterday, I poured boiling water into it to sterilize it. Don't eat it, sweetie. Please don't eat it. Thank you. All right, and then you're gonna, okay, you're kind of in my way here, honey. Just tap it down like that, and then you're going to want to firm the soil. And you'll see where the air pockets are. And you want to firm the soil down, because when you go to transplant it, the plant won't fall apart in your hand. Now, some people go right straight to the brim. I'm not going to do that, because I like for there to be at least like maybe a quarter of an inch. And honestly, you don't even have to fill it up this high. These obviously have holes in them for you to water, and I like to water from the bottom, meaning I fill the tray so that the water wicks up into the plants. What you need is a tray that doesn't have any holes in it. Before we go any further, I wanted to show you what I do to make my labels. I don't buy them. I just used old cottage cheese, yogurt cups, things like that. You can use the whole tub, but I have these leftover lids I'm going to use. After a while, I don't really need these, because I really only need them for seed starting and when I first transplant out in the garden, just to keep things straight. But after a while, you get to know the plants, you get to know what the leaves look like. So as far as them lasting very long, that doesn't bother me, because by the end of the season, I'm not even looking at them anymore. What I'm planting, I don't go into detail with the varieties or anything, and then today's date, which is 2/11. What I also do to kind of keep myself from going crazy is when I open a packet of seeds, because they're so tiny, even if you fold it back, a lot of times they can scatter and kind of run all over the place. So I'm very, very careful that I only open one little side like that. It's enough for me to get them out. And then when I go to close it back up, I use a paper clip to make sure that it just stays closed. So like I said, I'm going to sow these pretty thickly. There are, I believe, 50 seeds in this. There are 100 seeds in this pack. So I'm going to do roughly half. So I'm going to do 6 to 8 seeds per cell. Actually, you can use this instead of your fingers too if you want. Here, let me come closer. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm not being very precise, and I'm also trying to spread them apart and not just put them in one small hole. So, because the intent is for them to all grow together for a little while. And onions don't mind being around each other. They're social. Alrighty. There's such small seeds that they should only be like maybe 1/4 of an inch of soil on top. So I'm just going to kind of rough them over like that. And then I'm going to make sure that the top layer is quite moist. And now I'm going to put, instead of a humidity dome or saran wrap, which I find doesn't really adhere very well, I'm going to put this in a large Ziploc bag. And this will keep the moisture in. Most likely, I won't need to water it until it's time to take the plastic off, which is when it sprouts. Once it sprouts, and then you're going to want to take it out of the plastic bag, reuse the plastic bag because you're going to be sowing more seeds, or I am anyway. So I'm just going to fill up some more of these trays with more onions and more leeks. So I'll get you back here when I'm done. So for those 4 large 6-tray cells, I used approximately, I would say, 1.5 bowls of my potting mix. So this glass tea cart is where I grow my seedlings. It's on a very sunny, south-facing sliding glass door. It's a little dark right now because the sun is just going down, but they have all the light that they need. The one drawback for the light is that when you grow plants this way, you're going to have to move them twice a day, rotate them, so they don't start stretching towards the light. But I found that if I do that, if I'm consistent with that, I don't have a problem. The other thing is I don't use a heat mat. I'm going to try a heat mat on my peppers this year, but onions and leeks are cool weather crops. They don't need a heat mat. And on top of that, it's warm enough in here between the sun beating down through the window all day and the heat that's on. It's probably around 70 degrees in here through most of the day. I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today as I started my first seeds of 2022. And I hope you join me in the future by subscribing to my channel and hitting the alert bell. We're going to be having some other videos I'm going to put out when I start other things, and it would be great to have you along. And if you have some friends that are thinking of starting seeds this year for the first time, I hope you share this video with them. Thank you so much from the Ladies Gardening Home, wishing you a great gardening journey. Bye! Say goodbye, lady. 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 Lady says goodbye.